partners, your colleagues, you have to put out the bid opportunity. If you put a bid opportunity, you have properly put your requirements, you have put your specifications, you have put your designs if there are works, and people are competing. So when there is that competition, then you don't know who is going to participate. And therefore, it would not be easy to say, suppose you award me and I'm not able to, I'm not willing to give you that kickback. But the biggest why people think there is corruption, it's because at times people are disgruntled. This is competition. Whoever is not awarded to
is a loser.
He has lost. He has lost, and he's a bit disgruntled, and they think at times that the person who has been awarded maybe has parted with some coins to oil the system. But it is not always the case. I wouldn't 100% say there isn't corruption in public procurement, because we have seen cases where specifications are tailored towards specific bidders. But when a situation like that happens, then a participant in the bidding process should be able to raise the alarm with PPD.
Well, that's true. Just as you said, away from COVID, because COVID has just come and it's just been with us here for 1 to 3 months. But PPD has been here, we've been here, and we've seen things go right and wrong for some time now. When the president constituted a commission of inquiry into UNRA in 2014, we just discovered that we had lost about 4 trillion Uganda shillings in that department of UNRA. And much of it was, because I remember the ED at that time, who was not you, could not miss out coming before the commission of inquiry. And all the things that were being talked about there were procurement issues. Now, you bring bidders, they come, and one wins. Then the other day you hear that the road is shoddy, they've not managed to do, they've not kept the standards, they've not done everything, but they came through procurement. And we just noticed that so much money was lost by Ugandans, an equivalent of, they said, about 5,300 kilometers of tarmac road is what we lost to UNRA in a period of about 7 years. Here is why I come to you again on still procurement. Are we fixing these issues? Because we see that procurement itself has capacity to help us develop at a fast rate, or it has capacity to actually curtail the development of a country.
No, without procurement, then the development may be actually curtailed, because you may not deliver the service you wanted to deliver. As I mentioned, it is a vehicle service delivery. But talk about some of those challenges you have mentioned. We are dealing with people, and we can't isolate it that it is in procurement. The human being, the human nature, we should have this heart of saying, I'm going to deliver service, I'm going to deliver this road, and this road should be for posterity. It should be there for my children and my grandchildren. But when individuals, when human beings are angry of grabbing, and the supervision is weak, and also the checks, even in anti-corruption agencies like ours, if the capacities are not there to actually go to this road and say, you are supposed to have worked on this road with these layers, with this scope, then if that capacity is also lacking, then the contractors and the supervising consultants may take advantage and then siphon the money out of. Because first of all, if you do a roadworks, the contractor raises an interim payment certificate. This certificate is certified by the supervising consultant, is confirmed by the contract manager in, say, UNRA. So if those individuals, and we're talking about individuals now, if their minds and their hearts are full of corruption, then anything can happen. But if we had good citizens who have this contract at, then those things wouldn't arise. And it's true, we have come up with such cases where shoddy work has been identified. We have come up with such cases where even contractors abandon site after getting paid. And we have gone ahead to blacklist such contractors.
In that case, who do we blame for contractors who drop the jobs and run away for shoddy work and all the things? We also need to know who do we hold culpable for that?
So for shoddy work, you blame the supervising consultant and the contract manager in a government entity. And for government officials, the law also, the PPD Act, is a bit handicapped in terms of our enforcement. We recommend it to competent authorities. If they are appointed by the board or the Public Service Commission, they will appoint for disciplinary. We recommend for disciplinary action to those culprits. But for contractors, if you go to our PPD website, you will see a number of contractors suspended for failure to perform the contracts. And when you are suspended, that is bad. That is bad on your farm.
Okay.
Because if you are suspended for 3 years, you are not going to get any government work for those 3 years, and it is a dent on your farm.
Could you just help a viewer to know and to understand where do you start from as PPDA and where do you stop in any process where there is government procurement, where there is a government project? Take, for example, we are building a dam, Isimba, for example, the Ginger Bridge, the Entebbe Expressway, any of these projects, these big projects that government has done, where do you as PPDA start from and where do you actually stop and say PPDA has actually delivered their bit and now the rest is to X, Y, and Z?
I mentioned that procurement by Act of Parliament was decentralized. A dam is procured under Uganda National Roads Authority. No, under Minister of Energy.
Minister of Energy.
Yeah, under Minister of Energy. One, as PPD, we must confirm that that dam is in the procurement plan. The procurement plan, which is submitted at the beginning of financial year to PPDA and Minister of Finance, PSSD.
So you are there at the beginning?
Yes, we are there at the beginning. If you advertise, my team, my compliance team checks, is this procurement in the procurement plan? If it is not in the procurement plan, then we raise an alarm. Why are you procuring a big project which has not been planned? Where are you going to get the money? But if it is in the procurement plan, then the Minister of Energy continues with the procurement. They solicit for, they advertise, solicit for bids. First of all, they prepare specifications. And that is where the biggest challenge is.
Specifications.
Do we have the capacity of this dam? What type of dam are we talking about? What is the cost? Because they also prepare the estimates. And that is the scope of work, the specifications, and the designs.
The designs and the cost.
And the cost. So they have their estimate. And the bidders respond to the designs and the bids of quantities that have been prepared by the ministry. So in that form, for us, we are overlookers. We are not actually doing anything. If the process goes on well up to the end, we can only come to do a post-audit. When you have already awarded, it could be even, they have even completed construction, then we do an audit. Was the process done well? But most times for those large projects, when they award, they announce the winner. Then some bidders start complaining. Me, I was disadvantaged. The reasons for disqualifications, I don't agree with them. Then they come to PPD. Then we come in and review at that point. If they review, in some cases, actually, like I have the 65% of the complaints are dismissed. They maybe talk about 36 meaning that they don't merit.
But at what level? Because there's a thinking that PPDA and maybe the IGG also can be used to slow the process of development in this country, because If Uganda is certified, and I feel discontent about what has happened, then I run to you to halt a project that has been awarded to Mr. Ratoro here. Or I go to IGG and say they flouted the process. There were issues of corruption here and there. So then you come in to say, please hold the process. Don't you think that somebody can actually use you unknowingly to slow development, to fail a project or something like that? Because government says we want to do this by maybe 2023. We want to have this project rolled out and completed. We want to build the airport, and by 2021 it's done. We want to do, we normally have this, because when you talk about all those projects that we talk about, the BOQs and everything, then we even give it a timeline and say in 18 months the road will be commissioned. And it takes 3-4 years because somebody came to PPDA or somebody went to the IGG.
The law provided for an avenue to raise complaints. There is an administrative review process. The beauty with that, it has a time limitation. If a complaint is raised to PPDA, I have only 121 days to resolve it.
Only?
21 days.
3 weeks.
Yeah, to resolve it. So, otherwise, if we don't have that, there could be genuine complaints. Those who are disadvantaged. What we need to build, inculcate in our system is the high levels of integrity, the high levels of transparency. Excuse me. Because if the entity, the government entity, is procuring and it is hiding information from those who participated, it is not publicly displaying those who have won, it is not properly putting the reason for disqualification, then people start complaining. The other challenge I've seen in government entities is leakage of information. Here, you are handling a procurement. The participants are communicating with insiders in these entities, and they are saying, you know, this bidder, some of his areas where he was not properly 100% qualifying was considered non-material and waived, and he proceeded to another stage. You were edged out. So that leakage of information then lead to people getting disgruntled and then start complaining. But if we are transparent and fair in evaluation processes, then these complaints won't arise.
How about insider trading? Has that got to do anything with procurement? Insider trading?
Yeah, that would be conflict of interest, and it's not allowed.
It's not allowed, of course.
It's not allowed. There is a clause in the standard bidding document that doesn't allow a conflict of interest. You can't, and if that is established, then you are automatically disqualified.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, well, now getting back to COVID-19, we saw when of course this broke out, the president spoke to us on the 18th of March. He prepared us. For this season, and he said this is the way to go. We're going to deconcentrate ourselves and see how to actually manage the pandemic, isolate the spread of the disease and all the things. And a few days later, we had a very big scandal in procurement, which of course was very glaring in the office of the Prime Minister. Now we look at it, the office of the Prime Minister, as an implementing agency, as it does almost everything. It has the M&E, it has the procurement, it has now implementation and a number of things. And of course, here we are, and senior officials of government in the office of the Prime Minister get trapped into procurement issues. What do you think needs to be done now that procurement is actually decentralized from MDAs up to the lower levels?
Now, I may not directly talk about the office of the Prime Minister, because that case is still in court.
Will not do the prejudice of this, of course.
But when this pandemic
broke out,
was declared by the World Health Organization, and Uganda was one of the affected countries, and the offices were closed. Public offices were closed, apart from those essential offices. We, at PPDA, we guided by a circular of 1st of April of 2020 that all procurements are suspended at whatever stage they had reached, save for COVID-related procurements. Why did we do that? One, offices were not accessible, so it would compromise on levels of competition. Bidders won't be able to access these offices to submit their bids. And the challenge we still have is that we have not yet automated. We are going in that direction, having electronic procurement system. Actually, we are going live July 1st. If we had that line, then maybe people would be receiving bids and submitting bids and calling for bids online.
You won't have suspended anything.
Yeah, wouldn't have suspended. But because of that challenge of accessibility and transparency, ensuring transparency and competition, we said no, suspend. Two, ongoing works, we are not able to get, they are not put in place, SOPs put by Minister of Health. And also those who are importing, imports were had challenge of getting supplies from imports. So we said suspend till the lockdown is lifted. What is this COVID-19 pandemic procurements? COVID is and was not expected by anybody. You wouldn't plan for procurements under COVID. So they were not in procurement plans. It's an emergency. So we looked at this pandemic as an emergency situation, which was unforeseen by government. Therefore, the MDAs have to evoke the emergency provisions in the PPD Act. And the emergency provisions, I think, of course, we are not anticipated COVID, but the emergencies are there. We have been having emergencies, floods, Bududa, Ebola, whatever. And therefore, the law provides for that. There is a clear regulation 8 of the PPDA rules and methods, which spell out how to apply emergency. Now, under emergency, one, you may not follow the procurement method, irrespective of the amount.
Under emergency?
Yeah. Whether it is $1 billion, whether it is 10 billion, whether it is 100 billion.
Irrespective of the amount, because it's an emergency.
Yeah, it is an emergency. Whatever you are going to procure, you don't say, because our methods are guided by the thresholds. International bidding, high value, medium, small value, 5 million, micro, you can just go and buy. Now, so under emergency, irrespective of the threshold of the amount, you don't follow any method. You don't say I'm going to use international bidding method. No. Now, what comes again under emergency is that the structures of may not be used. May be used, may not be used. If you, like now people are in lockdown, you can't say, let me call the contracts committee meeting. But also the law provides that the accounting officer under 26 subsection 2 can act for the contracts committee. Because the contracts committee is the one which awards, which approves the procurement method, which approves everything. It's a control check that was put by the law. But now the accounting officer of that government entity can act as the contracts committee. And when that is done, then the procurement goes. We have the professionals in those MDAs who are called procurement and disposal units. They're occupied by some of these government offices, even in the office of the Prime Minister. We have a whole assistant commissioner in charge of procurement. So these put a simplified bidding document. It can be a one-page bidding document.
Very simple.
Very simple. What is your scope? You are procuring with food. How much do you need? What quantity? What quality? Because even meals has quality in terms of 60%, 55%, whatever. When is the delivery time? What are the payment terms? Just be one page, simple, and someone fills it, responds. One. You may not actually, you can advertise if you want, for one day, and say, we have this opportunity. Those who have meet these terms, respond. If you have knowledge of the market, or if you have a pre-qualified list of providers, which entities have, most of these entities buy these items. These are commonly used items. Then you use your short list, your pre-qualified list of providers, and say you can invite all of them and they compete. And all this can be done even in two days. Then you get a competitive price, which is agreed upon, evaluated, and then you award.
Okay.
And this is not constrained by any number of days in law, because we have declared it emergency. It can be done as fast as you can, or as fast as possible. Then you have deliveries. But it has to be very clear on terms.
Okay.
The terms, you must sign a contract. You must issue an LP with clear terms of delivery, payment, and quality.
So are there any political legal measures that have been put in place during this period? For example, when you look at a procurement world all over, in Denmark, for example, theirs is, in Denmark, they said it extended deadlines. There is extension of their deadlines. Italy, UK, contractual obligations continue as normal. Spain is trying to see how to juggle with a legal, their legal regime just right there. In the Netherlands, for example, it is a business as usual, as if COVID even never broke out. What is the case for Uganda? Have you also put in anything, could be political or even legal?
No, the challenge I've seen with our legal framework is that they are constrained. Let's talk about supply chain.
The supply chain, yes.
And some of the items to be procured for COVID are globally competed for. You want to procure PPEs, you want to procure NK95, they are not made here. And there is a line of demand. So demand is more than supply. The supply chain is distorted. And our law says you can't, someone has submitted a bid. You got an invitation, but this person has a lot of demand. You are not submitting when people are lining up to get these items. So he's not willing to submit a bid. And he's even putting more conditions, say, give me 100% before I even consider you for delivery. But
because there's so many demand.
Yeah, the demand is high. And our law is saying don't advance more than 30%.
Okay.
And without a guarantee. So here, you are at the mercy of this supplier as government entity. So what the lessons that we have learned is that we have to look at our law again. Actually, we are working on the guidelines.
Isn't that captured in the January 2020? Is that captured
No, the
in there?
emergency, it was a general provision, more or less.
Oh, okay.
But now we are this lesson, we can cascade this general section of the law and have guidelines, detailed guidelines that will spell out how do you handle emergency situations like these ones. Generally, like in globally, emergency situation. We have seen cases where you want to procure massively, and you had not put in place a framework contract arrangement. Because if you are procuring, I can give an example of masks, for example. We don't know when this COVID will end. We are not even post-COVID. We are actually in it.
No, there is no post-COVID yet.
Yeah. We are in it.
We are in
so
COVID itself.
If we start procuring, say, masks, under emergency situation, can you sign framework contract so that every time you need these masks, you just issue call of orders? Because if we have a framework contract, the next stage, wherever you need an item, you just issue a call of order. You don't need to go back to the contracts committee or accounting or sign a new contract. You just issue a call of order and they deliver. So these are the things we are learning. And also, of course, as PPDA or as government of Uganda, we are promoting local industries.
Okay.
We issued a reservation guideline And we are looking also, we have actually worked with also Minister of Health. We have given them circular and clearance on procuring locally. What that means is that we are facilitating the development of local manufacturers.
Okay.
And if that can develop further, then it would be easier to get these items locally than relying on.
So are there no implications to the suspended bids of, to the suspended procurement process of, you said 1st of April, of course, when that's officially when we went into a lockdown.
Yeah.
1st of April is when people are not supposed to move, offices are closed, government cars be taken to the headquarters, private cars not moving and all these things. Are there any legal implications to this? Because we looked at all the projects that were in the offering that people had possibly bidded for and all these things.
No, there wouldn't be any legal challenge, but the biggest challenge is on budget absorption, because we had budgets. The government,
yes, exactly.
MDs had a budget for this financial year up to June 30th.
Up to June 30th.
Now, you are not able to proceed. Sites have closed. You can't spend without having a certificate of delivery. So the biggest challenge that we have been, and many calls that I have been receiving from government procuring entities, is that what do we do? Can we have this money extended to the next financial? But the Public Finance Management Act doesn't allow that. Money will go back to the Minister of Finance. So budget absorption will be low. Implementation of our procurement plan, because for us as PPD, we monitor the procurement plan. You are supposed to do A, B, C, D, E within so much. How much have you implemented? And we query you, we query these government entities for failure to implement the procurement plan as initially planned at the beginning of financial year. So that is the challenge. And the other, of course, is the citizens will not get the services they were supposed to get. If a classroom was supposed to be constructed, it has not been completed. If a center was supposed to be put in place, a bridge has not been done. So the delivery of service has been affected, and we hope people will change the way they are doing things. We will even embrace the electronic government procurement that we are going to commence on 1st of July of this year, so that it can facilitate some of these processes, even where we have a challenge of like this lockdown.
Okay, how have you as PPD been supporting entities to secure or to carry on with the procurement businesses following the Ministry of Health guidelines, especially for those essentials, because not all of us have actually closed because of those essentials, and we need to procure, carry on and see what actually happens. And we look at procurement as a safeguard at such a time of open and possibly accountable procurement.
Thank you, Jageda. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the procurement is a process. And some of the processes need other stakeholders. Now, the process begins with the bidding. How do you invite the bids? Now, we guided that you can even invite online. If I have a bid opportunity in Ministry of Health, I put it online. And the people, or the bidding document is online, people respond online, and it should be accepted. Safeguards should be put in place for safety of bidders' bid. So it is locked. Someone doesn't access someone's bid before the bid opening. Then the bid submissions, especially for international bidders, we put a provision that they can have local agents, unconditional. If Jagende is appointed by a French company, then the ministry doesn't say what is your power of attorney, what shows that, but for purposes of maximizing competition. The other issue is the law requires that also there should be pre-bid meetings where before you submit a bid, people come, you explain your request so that you can get responsive bids. You can ask questions where the terms are not clear, where the instructions are not clear. Now, we said that can be done online. You can have a Zoom or any other, the webinar online, pre-bidding people ask questions, you answer questions. Bid opening is an area where transparency must be maximized. Because we don't want people say, Mr. Jagan submitted when you didn't submit a bid. So we also said they can use webinar, Zoom, whatever, other online, and you read out.
Okay.
You open it, you show bidders, those who are in different locations, where it is possible, you observe SOPs of Minister of LS.
Okay.
If you have a room like this one, people can and witness bid opening.
Okay.
Because we don't want challenges again. Say, no, someone didn't submit a bid, or the bid price that was read is different, and people start manipulating those bid price opening.
Okay. Away from going online, what specific lessons have you learned in the future, for the future of public procurement in this country, using COVID, the pandemic that we have?
The biggest challenge is that, the experience is that we must go automation.
We must go online.
Online. It must be automation. Automation, and have, because now, if I need a trading license, I go to KCCA. If I need to register to confirm whether Jagan is registered, I need to go to your
URSB. URSB, KCCA,
the Minister of Finance, IFMIS, NITA, we must integrate. NIRA, I want to know who is participating. Is this a local Ugandan? So we must integrate.
So you need to have capacity to look into NIRA to see that Jagan is actually a native of Uganda. You need to be able to cross-check my number with the URSB directly, that this is actually a registered entity. You need to maybe run to Minister of Finance, URA,
and say that you are tax compliant.
Tax compliance.
So this is the way to go. Our electronic government procurement should be able to do that. Actually, it's going to do that, so that we don't need to run around, all the bidders run around looking for these documents.
Okay. Yes. In your own capacity now, in personal experience, do you think COVID came as a curse or it's a blessing in disguise?
You know, where people are losing life.
Yes. It's a curse.
I wouldn't.
It's a curse that people are losing lives.
Yeah, it's a curse. And you see, in the area of procurement, we don't want also to see people who want to take advantage. Say now we have COVID, it is emergency. I must procure at whatever cost. No, because there will be time for these procurements to be audited.
Exactly.
I saw Auditor General launching the audit for this financial. They are going to audit this. We are going to audit procurements that were conducted during COVID. So we don't want to see people imprisoned for mismanaging COVID funds. There should be total transparency. Even what the National Task Force is getting. I'm glad the President, His Excellency, reads it loudly to the public. But we want to see when actually there is a publicity of how these funds, donations, have been spent. Can I see, go to the media or social media or whatever, or in the New Vision, a list of, say, we got 22 billion, and it was spent like this, and the beneficiary are the following.
Okay.
That is accountability we are looking for.
Accountability is very important. Yeah. Okay. What's your personal comment on the recently passed local content bill?
So, Jari, that is a bit tricky. Why? Because the PPD Act, which is already in place, has also provisions
for local content. Now there's another bill somewhere.
And there is a bill
for local content.
I was actually surprised because we are talking about, that was a private member's bill.
Yes.
And the Finance Committee of Parliament is the same Finance Committee that looked at the PPDA. Also looked at the local content bill. And let me be positive and look at a broader picture. The Public Procurement Act 2020 will look at provisions that promote local content in terms of procurement. And here we're talking about reservations in terms of product. And these are already there. If government is buying uniforms, is buying medicines, okay, is buying cables and electricals, is buying furniture, it's my role to ensure that they buy locally. I query someone who goes out of that.
Sure.
It will be legal action. But there are also threshold in terms of contract. Contracts of a certain threshold, 45 billion Uganda shillings for roads. Madam Allen will never advertise it for international bidders. International bidders will never participate.
45 billion is local content.
Is local content. For works, other works, like buildings and what have you, 10 billion. Anything above that can be advertised
internationally.
And what that means is that it doesn't prevent the local providers or the local contractors from participating, even where the thresholds are higher. You can compete and get. Okay. We also have, for those which are higher than that threshold, we have what we call preference. They get a marginal preference at financial evaluation. A local bidder for works gets a 7% preference. Government can be able, is willing to pay additional 7% if it is awarded to a local contractor. Example, if a foreign bidder is 100 million and the local bid is 107, you prefer a local bidder because you are promoting with advantages. You are employing, money is made in here.
And local content.
Yeah, and local content. Yeah.
Well,
so this bill
yes,
needs to be looked at. But broadly, it could look at employment issues, it could look at finance issues, it could look at trade. Those are outside the DPD Act.
But we need to look at both of them because both scrutinized by the same Committee of Finance and Parliament. But thank you so much, Mr. Benson Turamye, for joining us and for allowing us your time this morning to be with us on Good Morning Uganda Extra. Mr. Benson Turamye is Executive Director of PPDA, Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority. He's been here, of course, to look at how COVID-19 has also impacted on public procurement. Remember, about 70% of our budget is into public procurement. All the roads that you see, hospitals, schools, everything, every public thing that you want to talk about has got to be procured right there. And here is the man at the helm of that authority. Of course, and the challenges that is going through now, and also the successes that they've also managed to get to. We'll stop the debate here for tonight, and thanking you so much for being part of GMU Extra today. My name is Jagenda Semakwa. We'll talk again tomorrow. Stay blessed. Good morning and bye.
Thank you, Jagenda.
During this period of coronavirus, we know you're supposed to be at school, but you're at home. Stay tuned, don't worry, lessons are going to be in progress.
Don't miss out with me, Maureen, on UBC as I take